Today is Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. This meeting is being video and audio recorded for future cable broadcast. We ask that you please silence all cell phones for the duration of the meeting. Sorry, I was going to do that after the roll call, but go ahead.
Mr. Hood?
Yes.
Mrs. Gomes?
Yes.
Mr. Howcroft?
Yes.
And we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so the next item is the consent agenda. Everything listed in the consent agenda was distributed in advance of the meeting. Does anyone have any requests for something to be removed from the consent agenda and discussed and voted on separately? So may I have a motion to approve and accept the items listed in the consent agenda, including the minutes from September 10th, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Mr. Hood?
Yes.
Mrs.
I believe we do not have anybody signed up for
No, we do
delegation
not.
this time. Okay, so seeing no old business, I believe we will go into new business. Dr. White.
Okay. So first up, we would like to share our MCAS results from spring 2024. And I'd like to call to the podium the principals, Mrs. Sylvia, Mrs. Chesney, and Ms. Ruggieri, the Director of Curriculum. And we will be going over with you the results. But overall, we're very pleased. And obviously, we always have work to do. But so with that being said, take it away.
Good evening. So tonight we're going to be presenting on the spring 2024 MCAS results. Overall, our accountability ratings increased for both schools, and we have outperformed the state on the majority of tests.
And can I just add that this is at a time when the majority of the state is still feeling the effects of COVID, that, you know, they're still not caught up, but I feel like in Acushnet, we're okay in terms of pre-COVID. You'll see.
So we'll discuss our accountability ratings, the performance of the overall district, each individual school, and we'll look at some area comparisons and talk about next steps. So here are our accountability percentiles. The accountability ratings are calculated by DESE based on the achievement, student growth, English language proficiency, and chronic absenteeism for each school. And schools are compared to schools that are other like schools. So in our case, elementary schools that are pretty much K-4 or K-5, maybe K-6, and then middle school 6 to 8 generally. And each school has gone up in their accountability percentile. AES is at 93 and FMS is at 55. This is the achievement distribution for grades 3 through 8 in ELA. So on the left-hand side is our school district, and on the right is the state. And overall, we have outperformed the state in ELA in grades 3 and 8. This is the achievement distribution for math, grades 3 to 8. And again, overall, the district has outperformed the state. This chart here is the district and school achievement and growth in ELA for grades. The growth is for grades 4 through 8, and the achievement reporting is on grades 3 through 8. The red dot there is the Acushnet Elementary School. The yellow is the Ford Middle School. The green is the average, or the district average, and then that star there is the state. So typical growth is generally anywhere between, in that band, between 40 and 60. So AES actually had high growth and high achievement in ELA. And for middle school, while we outperform the state in ELA, we are within the typical band of growth, but fell a little bit behind the state in growth. And this is the school achievement and growth for math in grades 4 through 8. And again, the colors actually have changed. So yellow here is the Acushnet Elementary School. And again, on that higher end of the typical band for growth and high achievement. And the Ford Middle School is the red dot there. So again, kind of on that lower end and falling behind the state as far as growth, but did outperform the state in achievement. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Sylvia, the Ford Middle School principal.
This chart shows from 2021 through 24 in ELA 5 through 8. Consistency showing small increases through the years. The percentage of meeting or exceeding is higher than the state. Same thing in math 2021 through 2024. Where the red may dip and the other columns may increase, that is a good sign. School's at 47% with meeting and exceeding, the state's at 41. 3 through 5 science. So this is the science curriculum. They begin in grades 3 and 4 at AES and then come over to FMS for grade 5, and the test is on grades 3 through 5 standards. 6 through 8, we do have a dip this year. Keeping in mind that last year we did begin the new science curriculum, the Open Science, and we piloted an STE version of an updated MCAS as well. So we're not exactly sure how that scoring is in comparison to the state. It was a 2-day test. The first day was traditional questions like past years. The second day was more hands-on, inquiry-based. That not everyone in the state piloted, but it was the first year of the pilot, the first year of Open Science. Okay, and with the elementary school, as Mr. Fury had mentioned before, we did outperform the state. We have regained a little bit of our progress from the last 2 years, from 2023 to 2024. So that's also a good sign. And for math, again, we outperformed the state. And we also, after a little bit of a dip last year, have also moved a little bit forward as well. So we're very pleased with those results. So up here we have comparisons of how our school districts performed on the test compared to the state and also other local school districts in the area. This is just kind of for a reference. Generally, when we're compared to other school districts, these districts are not necessarily considered our dark districts or districts that kind of more closely resemble our student makeup of the district. But I did just kind of put this up here because oftentimes it's nice to know how we're performing against other local area schools.
And this is something that the school committee has asked for in the past, so that's why we've included it.
Anything in green, so Acushnet, any of those, the reason that Acushnet is in green here is because we outperformed the state on that test. So that green is comparing Acushnet to the state and not necessarily other districts. And then here's the same comparison chart, but for grades 5 through 8. And there are 2 assessments where the district did we did underperform compared to the state, and that was that 8th grade science assessment, pilot and new curriculum year, and the 8th grade math by 1 point. And all other areas, we were able to outperform the state. And then this is very similar, but just looking at grades 3 through 8 overall, in ELA, math, and science. And I threw this data chart on there for your reference. This is kind of just the overall view of the numbers of students in each category, meeting, partially meeting, exceeding, and not meeting expectations. And it just gives you the idea of how many students are in each group, what the participation rate was, and the growth. So in summary, both AES and FMS continue to increase their accountability ratings. Overall, we outperform the state in ELA and math and science overall. AES outperformed the state in growth and achievement. FMS underperformed the state in growth and outperformed the state in achievement in ELA and math. And our next steps are to continue to provide interventions for identified students, examine data on a regular cycle, and work with educators to help provide data-informed instructional decisions, provide ongoing professional development to ensure appropriate implementation of our high-quality curriculum materials, continue to follow the action steps on our strategic plan, and examine our approach to lesson planning. Our curriculum is, they're big. Our curriculum is big, and you would never get to every activity that is in our curriculum. You wouldn't be able to do that. So how do we work in teams to really pull out what are the most high quality activities that we can be doing with our students from within that curriculum? And ensuring that our educators are continuing to use the district-approved curriculum and assessment according to the assessment and pacing guides that we're getting through what we need to get through, and continue to work with families and community partners to ensure that we're getting students to school. Because if they're not here, they're really not learning what they need to be learning. So we need kids in school. It's a good place to be, and we're hoping that our responsive classroom and all the other efforts that our administrators and teachers are making, help with that as well. Any questions?
So it's still concerning to me about the math curriculum, 5 to 8. Is it based on these results? Are we changing the curriculum at all, or thinking about it, or what other things besides those bullet points are we doing to help bridge the gap? Because just personally now, looking from 7th grade to 8th grade math, it's like a huge jump. Like a lot of kids can't even wrap their head around it. So are we doing things in the 7th and 8th grade to try to build a bridge of learning the new curriculum? Because I believe this year in 8th grade there is a new curriculum, or something's changed where things are more rigorous this year, I was told by one of the teachers, because I've already had meetings about math, so I'm starting to get well versed. I'm just wondering, based on these results, what changes are we making, or are we not? Are we just trying to, see what happens?
So, we're not changing the curriculum. That's the same. It's the Savas and Vision curriculum. There are 2 tracks. There's the algebra track and then the grade 7 and grade 8 track. We have added a math interventionist to the middle school. But as far as the curriculum, I think what we need to really, again, look at is what are the high quality activities that we can be pulling out. One area that we identified was that we wanted to have more student engagement, more student talk, more students grappling with the curriculum and working with each other to solve problems. And so we're doing a lot more of the vertical thinking tasks on the board where students are kind of up out of their seats, We purchased whiteboards in all, they're put up in all of the math classrooms. And we actually just took a learning walk last week, I believe it was, through the grades 5 through 8 math, because we're looking at it closely, to see, what's happening. And what we saw was high student engagement, students working on grade level material and grappling with that and problem solving together. So it looked really great. And what we want to make sure that we're doing within the classroom is also addressing that tier 2, so when students aren't understanding the lesson, when they aren't getting it, right, what are we doing within the classroom before they get to an interventionist to make sure that they're understanding the material?
I just have comments, but at the end of the, are we at the end or the?
I have one or maybe two questions as well.
Okay, go ahead with questions, and I just got a statement. Thank you for.
Can I just, if you go back to the accountability percentiles for a minute, so so it sounds like we calculate that based on a number of indicators and then also similar schools, no? Or just the indicators? So is there a benchmark score that is considered, or when I look at 93, like that's 93 out of 100, so that's great? Or like, how do I look and interpret that?
Okay, so the 93 is compared to other schools. Okay, so if you can actually, I can get you the information of where you can find how it's all calculated and all of the, like the numbers. So, for example, chronic absenteeism, there's you can get 4 points for that. So I'm not sure exactly, I don't have the numbers in my mind, but yeah, so all of those, different categories carry different weights. So they're not, I wouldn't say that they're equally, achievement isn't 1/4 of the calculation and student growth is not 1/4 of the calculation. So they all have different weights and it's calculated. You can see that on the school and district profiles. You can see it actually breaks it down even more by the student subgroups and more information as far as that goes. But then once we have our number, then that number is then compared to other school districts.
So is there one particular, or maybe there's multiple, because if you just look at it, you go, wow, 93 in the elementary school, 55 in the middle school, kind of what's the driver of why those scores are so different?
So this is falling in the 93rd percentile compared to all schools that are similar.
It's excellent. To get 93 at the elementary school, and I think our middle school is very typical. A lot of middle schools, you see a very big dip in the percentile rankings.
Why, what are common things that?
Well,
There have been some years we've received 0 points for attendance. We just don't get the 4 points based on attendance.
I mean, again, the student growth that we talked about, that's a factor. That factor carries weight. And so when we're below the state in growth, we need to really look at that and say, what can we do to increase the growth?
and now the state is counting attendance even more heavily. So we're doing everything we can. We're making phone calls when kids are absent. We're following up with students. We get them in for meetings after so many absences because it does impact our scores.
Excused or unexcused absences. So we can excuse with a parent note, but the state doesn't take that as an excused absence.
The idea is kids have to be in school to learn. And, as much as we say we have some issues with attendance issues, it's not as bad as many districts are facing right now in the state. We're very fortunate. I'm really proud of the educators in this district for these scores. The fact that we're continuing to move in the right direction after COVID, and that's not what most of the districts in the state are seeing right now. So, we know that we have work to do, because unless it's 100% of all kids meeting the standards, then we know we haven't hit everybody. So we've got to continue to look at data, do the work that they're doing, to continue to make improvements and move in the right direction.
Just one more quick question. So when does the curriculum director, decide that it's time to move on to a different curriculum after looking at, not just this, but other means of examining what the kids are doing? Because I saw on the math, like Fairhaven has a higher math score than us. I don't think we're using the same curriculum as Fairhaven, but when do you decide, like how many years do you wait until we change?
It's typically a 3 to 5 year cycle. So, I mean, we can, and we kind of last year started having these conversations of, do we want to start exploring other options? Should we be exploring other options? Or do we need to kind of look at our instructional practices perhaps? Because, we are seeing the growth and achievement with the same curriculum. It's a K-8 curriculum, and that doesn't mean that it's the same throughout it doesn't mean that it may better serve an elementary population than it might a middle school population, but there could be a lot of factors, and that's something.
Turnover in staff over the last several years in math.
Because I was thinking from a budget standpoint, like should we start looking at, if the scores aren't moving the way we want them to move, are we looking at a 2-year rather than a 5-year contract or things
So
like that?
it's really hard because it takes teachers a little while. Sometimes you will see a routine dip in scores when you start a new curriculum.
Right.
There's a lot of PD that goes with it, and that's why the typical idea is the 3 to 5 years, because you invest a lot of money in the curriculum. But in terms, we're looking at data, not only at our data, but we're looking at other communities. And we'll make the phone calls, hey, what are you using? We do visits. We've sent our teachers and principals over to different schools just to see what they're doing. We've done that before too, so we're open to those ideas as well.
And again, like we're looking at instructional practices. We're working with our school instructional leadership team to really kind of try to identify a few problems of practice around our data to dig deeper, because there are so many factors. There's so many factors that could be involved. And so how do we kind of parse out what we think it could be?
And vertical alignment are always something to really look at, that you pride yourselves after to set meetings and things like that with like 6 to 7, 7 to 8 to make sure they're all aligned.
Just looking at the broader picture, that with MCAS scoring, Massachusetts rates one of the highest in the nation, and we're above the state, so it shows of how our students are becoming more prepared than they ever were, to go on and have a successful secondary education. This all comes through the testing, the MCAS score, testing, and putting the spotlight on achievement. I mean, there's a great discussion that we come from, even from the school committee, to continue to refine and make progress, and how our children have made progress compared with before MCAS testing was in 1993. I didn't realize that before 1993, the only high school requirement for graduation was 4 years of gym and 1 civics course. And in some school districts just had kids in school just marking time, and as long as they behaved themselves, they moved on, and therefore their high school diploma wasn't worth very much. So this has all changed, and this, and it's and we should really, with under COVID, our children had a little setback, but the discussion the healthy discussion we've had, basically it shows that we want to refine and make up any gaps that we have, and we're ahead, even from other neighboring districts. I would say that, what concerns me, that if we ever took the requirement, for, which is on the ballot, by the way, of removing any testing, on high school requirements, how much of a setback it could have in the future, in a sense of future funding, because accountability put everybody on notice. And you sort of, the state legislature has continuously put more money into it. We've had lower class sizes, we've had curriculum reform, all these things have gone in, and they could be endangered if we started reducing the testing for I don't know what reasons. So I just wanted to just toss this out to the public to consider, question 2. We should be very proud of how far we've come, and we don't want to lose. We just want to continue with the, in the future as far as in refining of what we have to have. So I've just been a little studying on this issue, and a lot of things I didn't know, but we should preserve and grow what we have, because we face some tough budget times, as we well know, and we need state support in doing it. We can't do it under local funds, and the only way is accountability would lead to more, continued funding. So I hope I haven't talked too long.
Thank you. Thank you guys for presenting.
I just want to say overall, we're moving in the right direction in that we also just received a grant for math tutoring in grades 4 through 8 from DESE. In addition to, we now have a math interventionist in place at the elementary school and at the middle school. So I think those are also, will be helpful factors. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next we have budget transfers, and we actually don't need a vote. There was a memo in your packet from the business manager. I don't want to read it to you, but in aligning with the policy, he's just basically reporting out that transfers between accounts must be submitted to the school committee for approval, and he's going to do that quarterly. So this is just a placeholder to get it on the agenda. And that there are no budget transfers, required at this time, as 77% of our budget is made up of instruction and programs in other school districts. So many times if a budget adjustment is needed, it's likely that it will not require a vote as a transfer most of, or much of the time. Do you have any questions on that? It's in the packet. Yep. Okay, so no vote. And then the next, if you go look at C, D, E, F, G, H, and I, those are all policies that the policy subcommittee has taken up recently, and this is all for the first read. There's no vote on these, but I'll just list them. It's AC, non-discrimination policy, including harassment and retaliation. AC-R, non-discrimination policy, including harassment and retaliation. ACA, non-discrimination on the basis of sex. ACA-R, non-discrimination on the basis of sex under Title IX, including sex-based harassment. ACAB, sexual and sex-based harassment and retaliation. ACGA, civil rights grievance procedure. And ACGB, Title IX sexual discrimination grievance procedure. And you might wonder why we're doing all these Title IX policies, and it's because there's been a lot of changes over the past several months with these Title IX. So we, as a subcommittee, decided to really take this on. We're putting the first read out to give you time to read through it. I know that Mrs. Gomes would like to speak on it. She's on the policy subcommittee committee, and obviously, we can have discussion tonight, and then we'll have the second read and the vote next month,
So,
if the committee so desires.
so I thought we would have a full committee today. So what I'd like the committee to do, as being on the on the policy subcommittee, is read through everything again in the next meeting that we have. Bring your questions and scenarios so we can really talk about it and see what else we can add to this policy, or what, if anything, or take away from these policies, because these are DESE's policies, they're not ours. So with some legal advice, we can alter, revise if we see fit. So again, just take the time, read through this. These are important policies in our school district. And I feel that, as a town, that we should definitely put our stamp on it and make it our own. So again, all your communication for the next meeting would be welcomed. That's all I have to say.
Dr. Bailey, I think I know the answer to this question, but these are maybe DESI's policies, but I presume we would rely on external legal counsel to review our final.
Yeah, so when the policies are crafted, it's MASC, which is in charge of the school committees, the association. They put out the recommended policies, and within each of those policies, you'll see references to laws, to reference and resources of where they get this information from. And I think you're able to compare what we had in the past versus what's new. But yeah, we've been tending to go with the MASC policies for that reason, but there's always some exceptions to the rule of that. And certainly it's a vote of the full committee. So that's why we always, especially with this many policies, we take the time to do a first read and then another read, and definitely have the discussion of any concerns.
You need a motion to table it to the next meeting, these, or we just...
It's just a first read.
First read, okay, thank you.
And just so I'm clear, we are updating these because there's been a lot of changes. There is no pressing deadline that says we have to have these updated by a certain, obviously sooner is better than later.
Yeah, that's why we're taking them on now. I mean, the last update was in August this year, so we're right, in line with that. Most schools are doing it now. Okay, so moving on, I have nothing else, but just to continue down, in your package, you have the Director of Technology's update. He'll be reporting live next month. You also have the Business Manager's update. And as you know, he's not here tonight because several of us have that meeting in a little while for Project 211. And I sent you an email on it today, but it's been established for school districts and towns to work together to get the necessary attention from the state legislature to challenge the current Chapter 70 formula, because we're one of those districts that only get the minimum. So as far as facilities, our draft investment grade audit was received on October 4th, and we're going to review that document very thoroughly before we release it to you, so probably within the next month. Gale Associates will be coming out in October. That's the same company that did the roof repair. They're going to be analyzing the water intrusion problem in the gym closet at AES, so that's on the docket. Food service, Acushnet, along with 161 other schools, were selected by DESI for an administrative review and a procurement review during this school year. And both reviews are conducted to ensure compliance with National School Lunch Program and the School Breakfast Program requirements, so this is very routine. And transportation, I'll just highlight that we have regularly been reaching out to Amaral to communicate changes, to check on changes, and voice other concerns. There's definitely been a lack of responsiveness, but the situation seems to be slowly improving. As we've included the ownership more regularly in our communications. And that basically highlights what you have in your packet from the business manager.
So Dr. Bailey, just so I'm clear in your last comment around the situation seems to be slow, because we are now including those folks you referenced, we are starting to see a response from them? Is that what we are?
Slowly.
Okay.
We haven't been pleased with the lack of responsiveness because, we have to answer to families with changes. We requested meetings. I don't want to speak for them, but they seem like they have a lot going on. But that's, we're at the point where if we don't get responsiveness, we'll be coming back to the school committee to talk about other things, other avenues in terms of our agreement.
Yeah, so just so I'm clear, is there anything, and I don't remember, in the contract that pertains to responsiveness and those?
Yeah,
kinds
we
of
can
things?
withhold payment.
Sure, okay.
So we're not there yet, but I'm just letting the committee know that we've had some concerns this year. And that is all I have.
Oh, for school committee, yeah.
Okay,
No,
so,
where are you now, on the,
report, any,
I beg pardon?
report, any school committee member report?
I just, be unethical for me to, try to tell, tell anybody how they should vote on a ballot question. I just want to prepare, but I certainly hope on question 2, that people just look at it and just study it and thought, in my previous comments, take into consideration. But I just want to clarify that I hope people just study it, but in no way am I telling people how to vote on that.
Okay, so we also had communication information, district newsletter, AES newsletter, FMS newsletter. Dr. Bailey, we had the personnel report, right?
Yep.
Soccer field letter?
Soccer field letter, Alpha Best update. and
Which
then-
that program has started.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So it is up and running.
and
It was a little bit of a slow start with the company, but we've ironed things out. And the school district was able to get some compensation in terms of credit for families. They had offered a week and we said, no, that's not enough based on 4 times of being late with the start date and, continuing to tell us, start Monday, and it doesn't start. So we negotiated a month of free care for the families who have signed up.
I think we talked about this last time, but I think especially considering that it was a little clunky maybe to get going, I think, reporting back after, I don't know, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, and
It's
just kind of-
definitely on our timeline to
Yeah, yeah.
report back to the committee. Mhm.
just to see what's working, what can be improved, and so on.
You got it.
We had the school meals program, so I think that's it for tonight.
When for the fastest meeting?
Fastest meeting of all time. All right. So I guess with that, then I would ask for a motion to close the meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Hood?
Yes,
Mrs. Gomes?
Yes.
Mr. Helfeld?
Yes.
meeting adjourned.